I was always told, when you have kids, kind of thing, as opposed to if you have kids. And then I don't know if that was inclusion of negating homosexuality as well, if you will, in that sense. But cause obviously, if you're bisexual or pansexual, you can still kind of get in a relationship and have kids and that. But like, obviously, I was always told when you have kids. I remember even as a kid, I was thinking like, no, I don't want kids. F off. It's like, no, I don't want kids. But then I thought, oh, okay, well, it's got to be the normal anyway. It's normal anyway. Obviously it's not, but it's well, it is, but it's not for me. It's funny. I remember thinking as a kid, I was told when you have kids of your own, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, okay, what does my future look like? And in my head, right,
Yeah.
the way I would picture in my head, sounds horrible, but when you realize from the perspective, right? I remember thinking that I would be the father who would just sit on the couch watching telly all day, eating crisps and whatnot. And I remember thinking that as a kid.
Oh my
And the
God.
wife would be going out doing the job and whatever and all that kind of thing.
As well as looking after the kid.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that was coming from a point of view of you weren't interested in having children. You were like, well, if that person wants to have kids, fair enough, but they'll have to look after it and do everything for it and go out to work and pick
No,
it. I'm
that
not
was
interested.
that was no, that was coming from the perspective of like, no, I don't want kids, but it's the normal anyway, so I've got to have kids. So I'm going to bring kids into this world, knowing full well that I'm not interested. I'm not going to bother taking care of them. Like,
Right.
obviously, I wouldn't want to do that. I want to wish that on them.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my kids a massive favor by not having them, if you
Yeah.
will. But but like I remember thinking that back then, and thinking like, you know, just how and I think back to it and think, wow, I kind of sound horrible if I'd gone through with that. Fortunately, I know better nowadays. I know not to have any kids and make anyone suffer like that. Like I remember thinking like that, and then I remember thinking as well, like I don't want anyone involved in it. If I don't want anyone from my family or whatever involved. So, but obviously, like, oh, you got to have them involved anyway. And I remember thinking, like, hearing about like being able to pay a homeless person to just what's it like acknowledge the marriage, if you will. That makes sense, something like that. I remember hearing something about that, how you can do that. Bearing in mind, this was still when I thought that you had to get together with someone and have kids and whatnot. And um, I kind of remember the journey a little bit of how that kind of evolved into
Yeah.
where I am now, knowing that like because for a time before I learned about asexuality, it was just a case of like, yeah, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna have kids or anything, or I'm not really interested in marriage. It's just like I don't want kids, so I'm not gonna have kids. I've got no reason to. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question, even if it's a bit dark. But
No, it's really good because there's a lot of people who listen to my channel, not everyone, but a lot of people that don't want children. I've never wanted children. I knew since 15 years old that I don't want kids. And the doctor said to me, you'll change your mind when you're older. And I might want to scream. It's like, no, I won't. I know my own mind, even at 15 years old, and I'm never going to change my mind. And I've never changed it. At 15, I was contemplating would I like adoption? Because obviously, I know you said that gay people, homosexual people can't have kids, but obviously there's always adoption or fostering. But I think you meant having kids of your own, didn't you, biologically?
yeah,
I asked myself the question at 15, okay, so you don't physically want them, Sandra. Would you want to adopt? And I'm thinking, no, I just wouldn't want that lifestyle. It just wouldn't suit who I am. And I knew even growing up that I like attention on me. I'm not like shy of saying that. I'm not afraid to say that I do like the attention on me. And I always felt that if I was in a relationship with me and a guy and a kid, that I wouldn't get the attention that I actually wanted. And but I physically didn't want it in me. I knew that I physically didn't want kids. I would never ever want that in my body. I'm very, very squeamish about blood and stuff, and I wouldn't want that pain, and I wouldn't want all that stuff. And I also knew that I didn't want that lifestyle because I'm a very responsible person, And if I did have children, I'd be a different person because I'd have different responsibilities, a different lifestyle, have to put the kid first in many respects. I'd have to change the way I did things and adapt my life. And, I'm not into cooking and cleaning and housework and stuff. That's not who I am. And I know some guys don't mind doing that these days, but I just feel that I'm the young one. I've always felt like well, I haven't always felt that. When I was really like a young, getting birth certificate age at primary school, I was like an old soul. But as my life's progressed, I've got younger and younger in my soul, which is good. But I know even now that I don't want that lifestyle. I mean, someone said to me on a business Zoom call, networking it was, that, oh, because I was having a interesting conversation with them that wasn't really going too well, because they were trying to say that even if you got kids, it doesn't have to change your life like the way people think it does. But I personally totally disagree with that, and this person was someone whose business revolved around loving parenthood. But I felt what they had done is because they found parenthood difficult in some ways. They basically adapted their life and mindset to feel good about having kids, which I think you have to do. I think if you've got kids, you should change your mindset to be happy to have them and adapt to that type of lifestyle if you've made that decision, because it's better than resenting the children. I do think that's a good thing. But I'm thinking, if I want to, I can't go clubbing at the moment because I've got injuries, but I'm like, if I wanted to go clubbing till 2 a.m. in the morning, I can't do that if I've got children. And you know what I mean? I don't want to be getting up early, cooking and cleaning, because I'm not that type of person. And if I was in a relationship, I'd want it to be just me and the person, because I think a relationship is difficult enough and hard work as it is between just you and that other person, rather than having another person involved, if you know what I mean. I think children complicate things. And I think if you don't really want children, you shouldn't have them, because you're, like you kind of touched on, you're doing the children a disfavor if you don't really want them, do you? Do you know what I mean? So it's much better to not have them, I think, if you don't want them. And I'm a person that really doesn't want children. I'm really happy about it. I couldn't have the lifestyle at all that I have now if I had kids. It would be an absolute nightmare. I'd be a different type of person.